Armando Simoni Club, Bologna Extra, blue Lucens. What more can I say? I love the Arco, but this is very pretty. I was at a pen meet and my mate Murray said, "Oh, look what I have," and he whipped out 50 new pens, and one of them was this. And I said, "Oh," and he said, "Oh, you want to borrow this?" I said, "Oh, yes, let's." So that's what we did. I'm going to review this pen. I will show you the parts of the pen. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. But before I do that, I will do a writing sample. Blue Lucens. It's a stellar Olmart celluloid. So let's have a quick look at this pen. Okay, so the Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extra blue Lucens. There is also a black Lucens. The Lucenses are famous Olmart celluloids. And so we now have it on this Bologna Extra pen. Here you see the pen right next to a Pilot Parallel. These are big pens and they're quite heavy too. So limited to 30 pens. This one has ruthenium trim, somewhat blackish, which is, I think, works very well with the dark blue on the material. The MSRP in these is $1,390 US. But the street price I found was about $1,200. It's not that easy to find them though, because there's only 30 of them, right? So this happens to be number 6 of 30, 18 karat Magic Flex number 8 nib, and a compressor filler, which means that you unscrew this bit. You unscrew this bit that I simply cannot open up for some reason. Oh, there we go. You unscrew this bit, you pull out a, you know what? You pull out a piston. This one happens to open up. You pull out a piston. Basically in here is a sack, latex or whatever material it is. And there's a little hole in here you cover with your finger, so I can show you when this part is out. Given that that is brass, that's also what makes it so heavy. Right, so you pull this out. Nice eye for detail on that with that pattern, right? You dip this in ink, you push this back in, right? You push it back in. That compresses the sack, and when you remove your finger from the hole there, that sack will decompress and as a result draw up ink. So that is how these pens work. Now, putting this back together as if nothing ever happened. Nothing happened, Murray, don't worry. Right, you get this pen. So let's talk about the parts of the pen. Top of the cap, finial, same material as the rest of the cap. Slightly translucent, as Lucens tends to be. Ruthenium clip, Armando Simoni Club logo, and the big center band with the Greek key on it. Barrel, tapers down ever so slightly, ends in this turning knob. And then here's a blind engraving that says ASC Bologna Extra blue Lucens, number 6 out of 30. That's it. Pen unscrews. Now, as I said, these are big pens. They are long and they are quite heavy, and they are fairly girthy too. So they're big. Posting is not really an option, but I don't really think anyone would want to post this. It becomes really, really massive. Section, nice, tapers down a bit, flares out ever so slightly. And then you have that big number 8 nib, here also ruthenium coated, 18 karat, Flex, Magic Flex, Armando Simoni logo, laser engraved, and the 2-part feed. So you can actually push down a bit on the nib, and the feed will lift up a little bit, that part of the feed, supplying the nib with some decent ink. Ebonite, gold nib, ruthenium plated, fascinating. We need to see how this pen writes. What ink is in there, can't tell you, because I bought the pen at a pen meet, it was inked up. I don't have the box, I don't have the ink. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm not going to write down Armando Simoni Club, I'll just write down ASC, Bologna Extra, and what I will say is a very wet and very smooth nib. Lucens. This is the blue Lucens. And the nib is 18K. Magic Flex. Okay, oh sorry, I didn't mean to punch the camera tripod, did it again. And I did again just to annoy you. Okay, let's continue. Again, super smooth. Super smooth and nice and very wet. Fast writing. Good. Keeps up very well with the ink demand. Very, very nice. I believe I have emphasized once or twice now that it's a wet writer. It is a very wet writer. But what you really want to see is the line variation. I know that, so. Treat these nibs not as wet noodles, but you can exert a bit of pressure. And I found some of them to be a little flexier than others. Oh, that's pretty nasty. Let's try another one. Very nice writer, this one. And that line variation works out really, really nicely. Reverse writing. For those of you who enjoy such a thing, it's possible. All these nibs have the same grade. They are, well, they're just marketed as Magic Flex. I don't even think they're marketed as fine or medium or whatever. The one I have, so I have not a Lucens, but I have an Arco of the same model. My nib is finer. Right? So it's interesting, it's interesting. There seems to be a bit of variation in that, and I've seen that in other, I've used a couple of the ASC Bologna extras in different finishes. Some nibs write like a broad, some nibs write like a fine. There seems to be some inconsistencies there. Being a flexi nib, of course, you can make it write a bit broader, or, you know, etc. So there is that. But it's interesting that you don't really know what you're getting, right? It could be finer, it could be broader. In this case, this I think is a particularly nice one. Very nice nib. So let's talk about what I like and what I don't like about this pen. Okay, what do I like, what do I not like about the Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extra and the blue Lucens? There's a couple of things that I really like. The blue Lucens, I think it is a gorgeous celluloid. It's very attractive, has just the right level of transparency, well, translucency, I guess. You can see the nib on there, so I mean it's translucent. There's also a black Lucens version. I think it's very nice. I like the ruthenium, the black trims. That works very well in my mind. I love that. I like larger pens. Well, there's no denying this is a larger pen, so that's really nice. Number 8 nib and stellar. This is one of the greatest Armando Simoni Club nibs I have used. The Magic Flex works well, very smooth, very wet, lovely writer. So that I really enjoy. Given that it's a big pen, it's also a very nice canvas for this material. It really shows off the material very nicely, right, which I think is very, very nice. Having said that, there's also a couple of things that I don't like so much. It is big and it is heavy. Because of that brass liner that I've shown you, it's heavy, and not everybody would like that. For me it's fine, but I know people who say this is too heavy for me to use on a longer writing basis. It just tires out my hand. It's limited. This is number 6 out of 30. 30, that's not a lot of pens, and as a result the price is quite high, about $1,390 US. Street price is a little lower than the MSRP. You can find them for about $1,200 if you can find them, because they're sold out almost everywhere. So there is that issue, right? Expensive, limited, hard to find. Yeah, and that's the way it is. Armando Simoni Club, Oma celluloid. This is the way. So I'm afraid that is kind of unavoidable. I would love to see a pen like this at some point for, let's say, $600, $750. I think the $1,200 is like, we're getting way up there. I think that would be really nice. But it's not up to me, is it? So I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.